Well, new tonight, the Georgia Department of Corrections has responded to an inmate's interview out of Telfair State Prison.
WALB News 10's Mackenzie Petrie reports on what the Human and Civil Rights Coalition of Georgia and an inmate inside that prison say happened after the warden was assaulted Wednesday.
Yes, the Georgia Department of Corrections confirmed that around 11:30 a.m. yesterday, an inmate assaulted the warden with a homemade weapon. Yesterday, the GDC stated that the warden is expected to be okay and that, quote, there were no additional injuries to staff or inmates reported. But according to the inmate interviewed, some inmates inside could be in need of a medical attention. I reached out to the Georgia Department of Corrections today to see if there was any truth to that, and they stated, quote, all offenders and the warden were screened by the same medical staff and no additional injuries were reported. One offender was transported for outside medical treatment due to shortness of breath but returned the same day, end quote. In an interview with the Human and Civil Rights Coalition of Georgia, an inmate said after the warden was stabbed, some inmates barricaded the dorm. That's when he says tear gas was deployed. This video, taken from inside the jail, shows the moments after.
The whole dorm was smoked out, and while we were locked inside of our cells, they sprayed the outside windows of the cells as well to choke us from both sides, and we had no escape because we were locked inside of our cells.
According to the release from Georgia Department of Corrections, less lethal munitions were deployed to get inmates to comply. But according to this inmate, after they were deployed, the water supply was cut off so inmates couldn't decontaminate. Georgia Department of Corrections says the water was turned off so they could make repairs to prevent flooding due to something the inmates damaged. Then it was turned back on.
They came in and they beat us each all individually. They beat us, stomped us, tased us. Some inmates urinated on themselves. Some inmates passed out. And when asked why were they beating everybody, they said, you know how this goes. You guys mess with one of ours, this is your punishment.
I asked GDC if cameras are supposed to be on before they administer tear gas or pepper spray. They stated, quote, the cameras were covered, manipulated, or otherwise damaged by the inmates, end quote. We're unsure how long this inmate has been housed at the prison, but he says there has been an increase in incidents in the past year.
McFarland, he doesn't tend to look for weapons. He doesn't care about the health of the inmates. All he cares about is who's flying a drone. That's it. Cell phone devices.
And I would imagine cell phones.
Yes, he just wants to make sure that nothing gets out about how this camp is actually being ran.
I did ask other questions like if the allegations of them beating and tasing the inmates were true. They did not answer that question. The GDC says the facility remains to be on lockdown as standard procedure following the incident. In studio, I am Mackenzie Petrie.